Hello again, it's Phil with 2003 Pontiac 5 to take on the 2500 road trip. It's been about a week since we did our initial look over the car, and since then, kind of had an idea what I wanted to grab parts-wise just to get it reliable for the trip, and I felt pretty confident after our first run around that it was going to be pretty solid. So as you can see, we decided to throw a little bit of extra goodies in the car because I had a little bit of money to work with in the budget since we were able to get the car for such a good price. I'm going to go ahead and go through some of the stuff we were able to grab and tell you why we decided to go with it. Okay, so first things first, we're just going to go right to left in no specific order, left to right for you, stage left. First thing you notice, terrible headlights. Okay, we're probably going to end up doing a little bit of night driving because somebody's bound to break down on this trip. Those are pretty foggy. So two things we're going to do is we're going to resurface those old crusty yellowed headlights, and from there, cheap, low quality LED bulbs, because why not blind everybody on the trip as well. From there, we have a slight oil leak at the valve cover, so basically what we're going to do is probably replace the valve cover gasket as well. Quality gasket is always a must, so that'll be a good thing. Second of all, or actually third of all, but most important, is a new driver's side door handle. Okay, this one has none. It's a little inconvenient to get in and out of the car without it. So, moving on. Okay, moving on to various steering components. Now, we may not need these components at all whatsoever. There's really no way to know until we get it up to freeway speed and actually see what's going on. So since they're pretty widely used and available parts, we decided to go ahead and just order them anyway. So we have new ball joints, new tie rod ends, and new stabilizer bar links. So if we don't need to use them, fine. If we do, we got them. It wasn't a big expense. So moving on down the line, obviously we know the brakes are shot all the way around. They were rusted solid. They're thumping. They're horrible. So we're going to replace them all the way around. So from here we've gone with pretty much brand new rotors front and rear, and a set of metallic brake pads front and rear also. Along with that, we decided to just go ahead and replace all the brake hardware itself, all the boots and all the bolts and sliders. Along with that, we don't know the condition of the emergency brake, but I bet you any money that once we pull those rear rotors off, it's probably going to crumble. So we're going to go ahead and replace all that hardware also while we're in there. Now, the last thing, which is the most important, is new drive belt and a new remanufactured alternator here also, so we can actually charge and drive the car and be safe and reliable. So this will probably take a couple of weeks that we'll get that done. I didn't talk about the wheels at all, but we had room in the budget, and if we go where I think we're going to go on this trip, having a little bit extra handling is going to be a good thing. So a little bit more sticky. And the last thing with the wheels, obviously not necessary for the trip if we wanted to go as cheap as possible, but all four tires leak on all four corners. And this thing came with aluminum wheels. So my guess is that it probably sat so long that the bead broke and these wheels are all corroded. So I really don't want to have to waste a whole lot of time breaking the wheels down, sanding them, cleaning it up, and remounting the tires. It is just, a lot of time. I don't have a lot of time to spare on the project because we need to have it ready to go here in just over a month. So the wheels weren't a huge expense. They fit in the budget. They're going to look cool, and we're going to go with it. There is one other little extra piece that's not here yet that we'll get into later, but we're going to get started on this and see where we go. So I know I'm supposed to start doing actually important work right now, but you got to do the fun stuff first, and I'm really excited to see these super crappy cheap LED bulbs. So I'm going to put those in because it's easy. It's going to give me a nice sense of accomplishment. 9-thread nut.
No fog light.
I know. That one's burnt out on that side. That's why we have new ones. Exactly.
So these are not HIDs, they're just obnoxiously bright.
Bright LEDs. Yes. Obnoxiously bright LEDs. Oh, God, I was really tight in there. It's not fun. How does that look? That's pretty hilarious. A lot of bloody knuckles later, but hey, it's an original Toyota Denso. 200,000 miles on it. Lived a good life.
What in tarnation? Lunch on me if you can get this belt on. Oh, somebody stripped it. Somebody is using the wrong tool. I think it needs a new tensioner. Tensioner's bad.
Well, you may notice that it's a slightly different day. Phil and I are back at work on the Vibe GT, and yeah, so belt routing on this thing, way more of a headache than either of us expected, eh?
Absolutely. We already kind of had a warning that it was kind of going to be an issue based on other YouTubers and their attempts to replace Corolla alternators. Your biggest issue is the tensioner pulley.
By far.
By far. The arm is made out of aluminum, and it's basically got a big spring piston on one end, and that arm itself, where you need to grab onto, takes a 6.9 millimeter socket. So the whole idea is right on that nub over here is where you got to put your breaker bar and basically relieve the tension so you get the belt on. The problem is well, aluminum, and it likes to round off. So it took several attempts till midnight the other night.
Yeah.
And
like
another hour here this evening to finally get it figured out. And really what it took was a whole lot of arm strength. That was really about it.
This is definitely not a one-person job, period.
No.
This is not a one-person job. If you are a YouTuber that has done this as a one-person job, you're a He-Man, I'm impressed. But what you would have normally done is replace the entire tensioner assembly.
Right, exactly.
Which is a nightmare.
It is a nightmare because it's going to require a little bit more work. My guess is that you're probably going to have to remove the motor mount here on the passenger side and probably lift up on the motor to give yourself some room to get it in and out.
So we cheated, and we used a good tensioner piece. This is a spring-loaded tensioner, and removed the old one off of his old piece and used the good one we had to just replace just this spring strut assembly to be able to do this. And that allowed us to get it just enough, which still was a major bear to get that on there. Now we have an extra assembly that we're going to be able to use as a spare part if we need it. If it has a bearing maybe that goes bad in a pulley or whatever, we at least have this that we'll have as a spare part. But man, that was like it calls for an hour, hour and a half as far as the labor time goes. Unbelievable. For an alternator install with a belt install, that's a heck of a workout. So, hey, we got a thing done.
We got a thing done, so we'll hit the key and see if it starts and grab a voltmeter and see if we got charge.
I hope it doesn't go, wah!
Yeah, exactly, because then I think I'm just going to quit for today. We can go to dinner. How about that?
If this thing screeches, we're going to get beers.
Yeah.
Purrs like a kitten. That looks good. No wibbly wobbly on the tensioner. Yep. We fixed the thing.
Got a voltmeter?
I love the lights.
Yeah, it is kind of funny.
Some race car rally lights are kind of amazing.
What?
Come on, somewhere in the 14.
Positive ground. We did a thing.
We have done a thing. All right. So, we're exactly 7 hours into our 2-hour process. We've got tires and wheels mounted, we've got an alternator and a belt on. And still got the headlights on. Moving forward. Sounds good.
Nice. Sexy. Okay. Well, next step brakes. We'll see how many bolts we can break.
You had to say that.
Yep.
Okay, this is a prime time to discuss things. Hey, you watching this video, there are things called torque specs. It's the level at which you torque a bolt. This is an oil pan bolt. With a 3/8" wrench, I shouldn't have to do this to remove an oil pan bolt. Quit it! Jesus.
So you guys remember the first video we did when we drug this thing out of the lot, the driver's side front was completely locked up. All others were moving. And this would be the reason why. This is the pad up front. You can see that it was completely fused to the rotor. So it finally broke free when we finally hit asphalt, but that's basically what it was fused to. Took a nice chunk of that old pad out of there. So this will definitely be a lot better. Well, here we are again, getting a little bit late. I think it's just after 10 o'clock at night, and we really didn't get very far today at all. We successfully have the passenger side brakes completely replaced. The caliper was good, except for it did have a seized pin, so that took a little bit of time. And then come to find out, once we battled with the driver's side, turns out that that caliper is completely seized. So we're going to need to replace it and leave it at that. So after ordering some cheapest we could find parts to stay under budget, we'll go from there.